and good to have you with us. And thanks for staying with us through this special broadcast on Sunday, where we have put the special spotlight on COVID catastrophe. And continuing with every other night, tonight for the next 2 hours as well, I am going to talk about India's COVID war. On Mirror Now, we have been showing you the real picture now, also outside of the big cities, in towns, in smaller towns, in rural India, where this time the COVID situation is far, far worse than the first wave. And of course, the entire country is seeing that. But now that COVID has hit with such intensity into our smaller towns, that has become a big concern. And I'll tell you why that is. Because already our healthcare infrastructure in smaller towns and villages is pathetic. I mean, there is no other way to define what exists in most parts, especially in several of the northern states in our country, even in central states. It's a big problem, and that still is adding more pressure. So already you don't have enough primary healthcare centers. If you have the primary healthcare centers, you don't have doctors, you don't have staff appointed and assigned to those places, you don't have anything outside of a basic bed, let alone an oxygen concentrator or any kind of life-saving equipment in any of these centers. If you look at even the functional community health centers, the number of them present versus the population that we have, it is disastrous. And it is these cities where stories of horrors are emerging from. I'll give you a few examples. Let's talk about Kota, for example, in Rajasthan. It's registered over 6,000 cases and 264 deaths in the past week. The doubling rate earlier was 72 days. It's now come down to 27 days. There are no oxygen beds, no ICU beds or ventilator beds free. There is an acute shortage of remdesivir and other drugs. Let's talk about Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh, reporting over 11,000 cases in a week. 21% increase in cases in the last 1 week. 32% of the overall deaths reported only in the month of April. Acute shortage of beds in hospitals there. Let's give you an example of many, many towns and an overall picture of Chhattisgarh. Reported 3,000 cases in 1 week. No trained doctors to operate life support machines. Only 7 doctors for 49 district hospital facilities. 49 posts, only 7 doctors available. In one hospital, there was a story about hardly any staff available. Acute shortage of nurses, lab technicians. Bihar is no different. State after state, that is the story. And so tonight, we are going to focus on these tales of horror coming from across the country. Let's say good evening to Vinay Tiwari. Joining me on this broadcast, our managing editor, Sudhir Mishra, resident editor of Navbharat Times, Dr. Rakesh Pathak, editor-in-chief of Karmveer, Girish Kuber, editor for Lok Satta, Dr. Jayalal, national president for the Indian Medical Association, and Dr. Narendra Gupta, advisor for Health Prayas and national co-convener Jan Swasthya Abhiyan. And I want to start off with some of the states where there has been larger trouble. And Mr. Mishra, you and Dr. Pathak were with us in the morning as well. I wanted to ask you to tell a few examples from, the outside the big cities that we usually talk about, of just how bad the situation is in Uttar Pradesh.
उत्तर प्रदेश में लखनऊ सबसे ज्यादा, बनारस और इलाहाबाद और लखनऊ में सबसे ज्यादा पहले केसेस थे। लेकिन अगर आज की बात करें तो लखनऊ में पॉजिटिविटी रेट घटने लगा है पहले के मुकाबले, और बनारस में भी घट रहा है। लेकिन जो दूसरे छोटे शहर है, जौनपुर है, बलिया है, बस्ती है, गोंडा, बहराइच, हरदोई, शाहजहांपुर, बरेली, इस तरफ बहुत समस्याएं अब धीरे धीरे बढ़ती जा रही हैं। गांवों की हालत खराब हो रही है, गांवों में कैजुअलिटी की भी खबर आ रही है और लोगों को पता भी नहीं चल पा रहा है, क्योंकि वहां जांचें नहीं हो रही हैं। बिना जांच के लोगों की डेथ भी हो रही है। कई गांवों से ऐसी खबरें हमारे पास आई हैं। और सबसे ज्यादा जो नुकसान हुआ है इस ग्रामीण इलाकों का, वो पंचायत चुनावों की वजह से हो रहा है। पंचायत चुनावों के प्रोसेस में अगर हम पिछले साल बात करें, जब पिछले साल लॉकडाउन लगा था, उस समय उत्तर प्रदेश के गांवों ने बहुत ज्यादा सतर्कता बरती थी। जो भी प्रवासी लोग वापस आए थे, उनको गांव के बाहर रखा गया था और पूरी मतलब जब तक उनका क्वारंटाइन पीरियड पूरा नहीं हो गया उनको गांव के अंदर एंट्री नहीं दी गई थी। लेकिन इस बार क्योंकि प्रधानी का चुनाव है और प्रधानी का चुनाव गांव में, ग्रामीण इलाकों में, कस्बों के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है और काफी कुछ दांव पे लगा होता है। उनकी प्रतिष्ठा के साथ साथ में बहुत पैसा भी खर्च होता है क्योंकि प्रधानी का चुनाव पैसा अर्न करने का भी जरिया बना हुआ है। इस वजह से लोगों का 5 साल में एक बार होने वाले चुनाव में वो आज अगर अब मतगणना की बात करें, इतनी डरावनी फोटोएं आ रही हैं, सैकड़ों की संख्या में लोग इकट्ठा हैं मतदान केंद्रों पर। अंदर जहां पे वोटिंग चल रही है वहां भी अगर एक प्रत्याशी के साथ उसके 2 एजेंट हैं, तब भी बहुत ज्यादा मतलब जो भी कोविड के प्रोटोकॉल होते हैं उनका खुला उल्लंघन हो रहा है। और ये इस बात की पूरी आशंका है कि आज से 1 हफ्ते के बाद ग्रामीण इलाकों की हालत और ज्यादा खराब होगी। हालांकि सरकार ने कहा है कि सरकार ने सभी ग्राम पंचायतों में टेस्टिंग कराने और कॉन्टैक्ट ट्रेसिंग की बात कही है, लेकिन जब वो शहरों में संभव नहीं हो पा रही है, तो गांवों में कैसे होगी, ये देखने वाली बात होगी।
जी, जब शहरों में ही टेस्टिंग नहीं हो रही है, आप कितनी भी कोशिश कर लें, कहीं टेस्ट मिलने इतना मुश्किल हो गया है, चाहे वो लखनऊ हो, कानपुर हो, इलाहाबाद हो। अब गांव की बात में क्या एक्सपेक्ट ही कर सकते हैं हम। आई वांट टू रेफर टू सम ऑफ द विजुअल्स वी गॉट टुडे, जो सुधीर मिश्रा जी कह रहे थे। हालत वो देखने वाली है विनय। जैसे भीड़ भड़क्के के विजुअल्स आज आए हैं हमारे पास। काउंटिंग डे, ये कैंपेनिंग की भी अब हम बात नहीं कर रहे, अब हम पंचायत इलेक्शंस की काउंटिंग के समय ऐसे विजुअल्स जो हमें मिले 6 अलग अलग जगह से, तो हमारे पास ही आए और सब जगह यही हाल होगा। मुरादाबाद, फिरोजाबाद, प्रयागराज, हाथरस, रामपुर, बागपत, इतनी भीड़। और ये जो सब इकट्ठा हुए हैं, अब चाहे ये वापस शहरों में जाएं अपनी नौकरियों के लिए या यहीं रहें, I shudder to think, विनय, कि क्या होगा if these become the hubs for next COVID।
जी, और जब हम लोगों ने अधिकारियों से बात की तो उन्होंने कहा ये जो लोग चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं उनके समर्थक हैं, ये इलेक्शन एजेंट या कोई इस तरीके की आधिकारिक काम के लिए भी नहीं है, ये उनके समर्थक हैं। और जिस तरीके की भीड़ आप देखिए, ये कोई देख के नहीं कह सकता कि ये सपोर्टर्स की भीड़ है। दिस इज द मोस्ट unprecedented act that you will see for in a situation where a state is nearly collapsing. And I will tell you, जो सुधीर मिश्रा जी कह रहे थे, why it's a double whammy. Because of the panchayat elections, 2 things happened which has made the crisis in states like UP much worse. Number 1, there were impending fears of lockdown in some of the bigger metros in India, which was already triggering a slow exodus of people from cities like Mumbai and Delhi. The people had started returning because there was a constant information that there may be a lockdown, and that fear prompted a lot of people to start leaving. So they went back in those villages and towns, and as he was rightly saying, there was no quarantining happening this time. They were just going back and mingling with the rest of the villages. And then the panchayat elections also made people go back to either vote or participate or to derive pecuniary benefits that come with the territory of Indian elections. And be a participant of that, and a lot of people do go that way. I mean, people who live in cities may not realize this, but a lot of people actually travel back and to take part in these processes,
especially in tough times where earning a decent livelihood has become such a challenge.
And to supplement this, I will give you 3 or 4 small data points. And this is the government data of Uttar Pradesh, which in itself is a little suspect, but even that data suggests a trend, right? 20 out of the 1,70,000 odd active cases that were reported in mid-April, about 30% of them were reported from the 18 districts that went to polls in the first phase of the panchayat elections. On the same day, in the second phase, when April 19th, the second voting phase happened, the number of cases clearly rose in districts like Hardoi, in Kanpur Dehat, in Gautam Budh Nagar, where the polling had happened. So it's very apparent that there is a correlation between the elections, the crowding, and of course the rise in the number of cases. Now look at the situation of the infrastructure availability. All the talk that you hear of oxygenated beds, of ICUs and ventilators are largely concentrated in the bigger cities. You will have that in Lucknow, in Noida, in Ghaziabad, in Allahabad and Varanasi. But in other cities, whether it is Lakhimpur, it is Ambedkar Nagar, or it is Banda or Jhansi or Jalon or Hamirpur or all the other fossil towns, you don't have that facility. In fact, in those areas, influenza-like symptoms are not having been considered of COVID as of now. There are so many districts currently where they are not even considering them as COVID. They're just treating them locally, either through paramedics or some quack or whatever, and they're not even considering them as a COVID case. And this threatens to become a huge problem going forward. There can be an explosion of something like this. going forward in the next few weeks or so. And that infrastructure is just not ready. Similar stories even in states like MP. For instance, in Bhopal, currently 30% of the patient load is from people who are outside of Bhopal. They've come from other surrounding towns where there are no facilities. So this is something that the governments have not paid attention to. We had a situation where not only was Panchayat election on, but even the state chief minister was campaigning outside in Bengal for other purposes.
And slamming Kerala models and obviously attacking politicians in Bengal, not caring what's happening in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Let's, in fact, because you raised the issue of Madhya Pradesh, let's also bring in Dr. Pathak, and we'll go across to all our panelists one by one. But Dr. Pathak, this is the truth everywhere. I mean, I was looking at data that our research teams pulled out. Between 2005 and 2019, we saw just about 7% increase in our secondary and primary healthcare centers. And a lot of this increase, those healthcare centers are not even functional. They don't even have the basic staff or the basic equipment. अब जब यहाँ पे बढ़ रहा है कोविड, तो या तो लोग मरेंगे या शहरों की तरफ आएंगे जहाँ पे वैसे ही पहले से ही सब कुछ ओवरबर्डन्ड है और भरा हुआ है.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है तन्वी. अभी जैसे विनय जी ने कहा कि भोपाल में जो लोड है वो आसपास के जिलों का, हमने सुबह भी बात की थी. और जो मैं विदिशा की बात कर रहा था उस वक्त, ग्यारसपुर एक तहसील है. भोपाल से विदिशा और ग्यारसपुर की दूरी कुल मिलाकर 100 किलोमीटर भी नहीं है. और वहां जो कुंभ से लौटे हुए लोग थे, मैंने उस वक्त आपको 60 का आंकड़ा बताया था, लेकिन अब पुष्टि हुई है कि 71 लोग कोविड से संक्रमित हैं और करीब करीब 384 लोगों को आइसोलेट किया गया है. जो सुधीर जी ने कहा, मैं उससे सहमत हूं कि कांटेक्ट ट्रेसिंग शहरों में संभव नहीं हो पा रही है. गांव, जो छोटे छोटे गांव हैं, बहुत दूर दराज के टपरे हैं, वहां जाने के बाद एक से दूसरे को जो संक्रमण हो रहा है उससे शिनाख्त करना, उसे ढूंढना नेक्स्ट टू इम्पॉसिबल है, असंभव है ये. और उत्तर प्रदेश और मध्य प्रदेश के साथ एक जो रिश्ता आपस में जुड़ा हुआ है, बहुत सारी सीमाएं हमारी आपस में जुड़ी हुई हैं. सुधीर जी जिस स्थानीय निकाय के चुनाव की, पंचायत चुनावों की बात कर रहे हैं, उसमें भिंड, मुरैना, इतना बड़ा झांसी, इतनी बड़ी सीमा हमारी मध्य प्रदेश की उत्तर प्रदेश से जुड़ी हुई है. रिश्तेदारियां हैं, वोट डालने के लिए एक दूसरे के यहाँ जाते हैं, चुनाव प्रचार के लिए जाते हैं. तो जो उत्तर प्रदेश से इस चुनाव में संक्रमित होकर मध्य प्रदेश में लौटेंगे, उनकी संख्या कितनी होगी हम इसकी कल्पना भी नहीं कर सकते. आपने जिस पीएचसी की बात की, मैंने सुबह भी कहा था कि मध्य प्रदेश में सरकार ने कई इस तरह के नियम बनाए कि एमबीबीएस करने के बाद 1 साल तक या 5 साल तक एमबीबीएस डॉक्टर को पहले पीएचसी में काम करना पड़ेगा इंटर्नशिप के बाद. लेकिन कितने डॉक्टर सरकारी नौकरी में जाकर दूर दराज के गांव में पीएचसी में जाने को तैयार हुए. आप देखेंगे कि 1% भी एमबीबीएस डॉक्टर गांव में जाने को तैयार नहीं, सरकारी नौकरी करने को मंजूर नहीं है उन्हें, क्योंकि गांव जाना पड़ेगा एक निश्चित समय सीमा के लिए. तो ऐसी स्थिति में अगर आज का हम आंकड़ा देखें, मध्य प्रदेश में कल 12,400 लोग संक्रमित पाए गए हैं. भोपाल राजधानी में एक बड़ा मंदिर है, गुफा मंदिर कहलाता है, उसके महंत चंद्रमा दास, उनका निधन हो गया कल, वे भी कुंभ से लौटे थे. तो ये जो, और हमारे पश्चिम बंगाल से चुनाव कराकर मालवा क्षेत्र में बहुत सारे कार्यकर्ता लौटे हैं जो बीजेपी के और कांग्रेस की तरफ से भी गए होंगे, वे सब संक्रमित होकर एक दूसरे के राज्य में जो आवागमन कर रहे हैं. तो ये कार्यकर्ता देहात और गांव के स्तर तक का भी था. इसे कंट्रोल करने के लिए अब सरकार के पास कोई ऐसा मैकेनिज्म मुझे नहीं दिखाई देता. हम बार बार चर्चा कर रहे हैं कि आरटीपीसीआर टेस्ट शहरों में नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो गांव में कैसे होंगे? गांव के लोग झाड़ फूंक में पड़ जाएंगे और अपनी जान गंवा बैठेंगे. हम जानते हैं कि पिछली बार गांव गांव कोरोना माई की पूजा होने लगी थी बिहार और मध्य प्रदेश में. मजदूरों के पलायन की बात विनय जी ने कही. भिंड, मुरैना, हमारे ग्वालियर, चंबल अंचल और बुंदेलखंड के लोग बहुत बड़ी संख्या में महाराष्ट्र और गुजरात में काम करते हैं, दिल्ली में काम करते हैं, गाजियाबाद में काम करते हैं. आशंका है कि अब राष्ट्रव्यापी लॉकडाउन कभी भी लग सकता है. आज चुनाव से फ्री हो गई है हमारी सरकारें, तो हो सकता है अब इसे रोकने के लिए लॉकडाउन लगाएं. और अगर इस बार फिर से मजदूरों का ऐसा कोई पलाता हूं कि अब देहात इसे बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पाएगा. सुधीर जी ने ठीक कहा कि पिछली बार जो गांव तक लौटे थे महानगरों से लोग, उन्होंने बहुत एहतियात बरती थी. इस बार ऐसी कोई व्यवस्था दिखाई नहीं देती. और इस बार का जो म्यूटेंट है हम सब जानते हैं बहुत खतरनाक है, बहुत तेजी से फैल रहा है।
बिल्कुल
तो
आपने ये
गांव इस
बहुत
पर कैसे काबू पा सकेंगे?
हाँ और जो सरकारों ने पिछले बार किया था वो बिल्कुल नहीं हुआ है and we've spoken to state ministers who said yeah we are reopening our quarantine centers, we will track them, surveillance
बिल्कुल नहीं
करेंगे,
हुआ है, बिल्कुल
टेस्ट करेंगे,
सहमत हूं।
वो सब कुछ नहीं हुआ है। धीरे धीरे करके काफी माइग्रेंट्स ऑलरेडी वापस जा चुके बड़े शहरों से। विनय, गिरीश, फॉर एग्जांपल even within Maharashtra many from the big cities have gone back to their villages already, and
Yeah.
this time the explosion is in smaller towns and their surrounding areas, whether it's even for cities like Nagpur and Nasik. A lot of the pressure is also coming in from the
Yeah.
surrounding towns, and we're just not ready.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. See, the origin of the second generation state, it itself is in Maharashtra, Amravati, for example. And there, scientists had warned, some of the officials had warned, this is something different. This is not like what we had last year. So this strain looks completely different, and we have to have another approach to it. But nobody bothered, especially the center. Center was in a very jubilant, celebratory mode, and we ignored that, and now that's what we are paying a price for it. And now the situation is as such: Mumbai, Thane, Pune, and in some cases Nagpur. These are the four cities which are having some kind of a control handle over the corona management. But rest of the Maharashtra, it doesn't look like so. And especially bad is North Maharashtra, where numbers are exploding like anything. Maharashtra 60,000. I mean, 1/4 of the numbers in Indian COVID cases are coming from the state, and this is bound to happen because kind of spread it has, and there is no way which now it can be contained.
Yeah.
And North Maharashtra especially is which is bordering Gujarat, which is bordering Madhya Pradesh, and these are the states which will be seeing the kind of an connect and also effect of virus spread.
Yes, and I am now trying to imagine what can be done. How do you deal with this situation? Several states are now imposing one or the other kind of lockdown, curfew, half lockdown, partial lockdown, full lockdown. It's happening. Chahe national level pe, whenever the center takes a decision, if they do, but the states are, even the poll-bound states are looking at that right now. Dr. Jayalal, how do we tackle the outside of the big cities crisis? शहरों का ही इतना बुरा हाल हो गया है. The cities themselves are crumbling. Now that COVID has reached the smaller towns, what does one do?
Yeah, it is true that now every nook and corner of our country, every rural village is also having flooding with the cases of the COVID positive. The infrastructure facility is very, very shortened. The manpower is also very reduced. The oxygen supply is a problem. So this is like a crisis situation we are there. Now we need to augment the infrastructure facilities in the local setup. This cannot be done in a very short time, but there is a small clinics are there. There are plenty of small.
See, the issue will be.
Yes, we've lost the connection with Dr. Jayalal. Yes, go ahead, Girish.
Yeah, issue is about the management. They can have physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
Where then
Where are the people?
Yeah, and secondly, the budgetary allocation. It's not even 2% of the state GDP. And you can't spend that much money on health just because currently we are facing the pandemic. But there is no provision. There is no provision for the manpower. There is no provision for the infrastructure. And there are hundreds of so-called PHCs. PHCs are supposed to be the face of health infrastructure in rural areas, primary health centers. They are deserted. There is no one there. Poor Anganwadi workers are managing those PHCs. So you can't have sophisticated, forget sophisticated, even the minimum level, basic level health infrastructure in rural areas overnight. And it is going to take a whole effort. And I think it's not even effort. You will have lots of money required for that and couple of years completely focused on developing infrastructure, which we haven't even begun. So I think rest of everyone like you and me are like left to the mercy of the virus, and then we have to wait for the vaccine.
And in most of these places, situation has actually become worse in the last few years. One would think that in the last few years, the governments would have try to improve it, add in your healthcare centers, add in the staff. Between 2005 and 2019, the total sanctioned doctor positions in primary healthcare in rural Chhattisgarh went down by 23%. Between 2005 and 2019, total doctors in positions in primary healthcare in rural Maharashtra have gone down by 6.5%. Similarly, in the secondary and primary healthcare sectors, overall in rural India has only increased by 7%. Bihar doesn't even have one bed per 10,000 people. 59% of the sanctioned doctor positions in primary healthcare sectors in rural Chhattisgarh are vacant. 29% of these positions in primary healthcare sector for doctors are vacant in Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Narendra Gupta, I mean, I usually don't like to quote numbers because it doesn't give you the sense of reality as a ground story does. But these numbers are extremely scary. They tell you, they draw the picture where it's a dilapidated building, locked primary healthcare center, no staff, and maybe just a bed inside that room.
Yeah, thank you, Tanvi, for having me. The issue has been described by most of the panelists. That's the reality, and the reality needs to be dealt little more fundamentally into this, because the debate has been going on since a long time that resources are not available, systems are not in place, and all kind of things are happening, and that's the reason ये infection भी इतना ज़्यादा बढ़ता जा रहा है और deaths are increasing, all those kind of things are happening. एक हिंदी में कहावत है कि जैसी प्रजा है वैसा ही राजा होता है. So something like this happens. And another thing which this country very strongly believes, which is written on the backside of the trucks, कि समय से पहले और भाग्य से ज्यादा किसी को कुछ नहीं मिलता है. These are the two things in which we all very, very strongly believe in this country, and we go by this with all strength. Take for example, see, you have shown pictures of these large number of people turning out at the rallies and at the panchayat elections and everywhere. I'm unable to understand why have they not understood that their life is in danger, and why are they all getting collected, and why they are risking their lives. One part. They are risking their lives not only because they love elections. They are risking their lives because they have the livelihood issue attached to those elections. If they do not get into those electioneering process, their livelihoods are at stake. It is not because of the love of the elections. So the whole issue comes with the livelihood when these kind of big rallies, big gatherings, where people from rural areas, people who are not properly literate, when they all get together. That is one part. So these people are like this, and our politicians, those who who call the shots and who have the control over everything, they also believe in it. So both jaisa raja वैसी प्रजा kind of a thing is completely valid in this.
Okay, आपने ये एक बहुत important point बोली. Yes.
Let me come to the main point.
Yes.
Yeah. So now the main point is this, that our entire healthcare infrastructure is not geared to deal with a pandemic like this, of which is such a proportion. It is because of the two reasons. One reason is this, that we have limited number of human resource available, limited number of infrastructure available, and you said about the primary healthcare system and secondary healthcare system. There's something called Indian Public Health Standard, which we drafted in 2004, where at the level of the community health center, which is for the population of 80,000, how many doctors, how many specialists, how many paramedical staff, what kind of procedures can be done at those places, they all have been worked out. But nothing of that is working, essentially because the human resource doesn't exist. And as been said by somebody, that doctors are never interested in getting to the official towns or villages to serve. That is one part. Then their skills that they really can do, even after having done their post-graduations and specializations, they really can perform those kind of activities is another thing. The third important point is this, that is so much of centralization of everything, which is being decided at the level of Delhi, which is decided at the level by state capitals. And I tell you, because I have worked for several years, I have enough experience. Most of these people do not have the kind of capacity which is required to deal this kind of a pandemic. That is the reason. If we
Okay.
decentralize Tanvi, I'll give you a very good positive example of the town where I live. In Chittorgarh town, I live, Chittorgarh district. See, the system we have evolved here is this, that all people who do not require hospitalization but they are COVID positive, a WhatsApp group of all those patients have been created. And all these patients have to put in their vitals 3 times in a day, that how much is their oxygen saturation level, how much is their pulse rate, and how much is their temperature. 3 times in a day they put it into that WhatsApp group. There's a group of doctors who calls them twice a day to find out how are they feeling. If they say that there's one particular symptom as means they are having fever or they are coughing more, somebody will be sent to give them medicines. Morning, some doctors will organize yoga classes for these people who are at home. In evening, they'll be. Then again, further division has been done into WhatsApp group is this, that those who have completed 10 days of quarantine, they'll be put another group. And those who are in earlier than 10 days, they'll be in another quarantine group.
Okay.
These
I'm
things
sure I
happen
think
in
it's time to move to
these
Chittorgarh.
things happen.
Yes, I was just going to say the same, Dr. Narendra. What you're describing sounds an extremely, nice, well planned, well coordinated, place to be. I definitely do want to move to Chittorgarh right now. But interesting lessons, and we've highlighted several of these stories of individual towns, Girish. Where if you plan it better at the local level, you can. The Nandurbar DM, for example, has become extremely famous because he planned it in advance, he coordinated, and he made that entire place self-sufficient.
Yeah, and another reason I think which is extremely important in understanding the spread is a kind of our obsession for pseudoscience. This is the point we have been consistently ignoring it. People are not willing to go for tests. They initially believe in kadas and steams and some nonsense kind of thing, and they go on experimenting with that. There is a still large chunk of people who go for such so-called quacks and pseudo health related recommendation. And the doctors now are admitting this is a major reason actually, because they ignore science, and by the time they realize it's not working, it's 7th or 9th day. And then they go for medical test, which is already late. So this also has to be a reason, and we have to have proper encouragement for scientific tests, scientific temperament, and basically requesting people don't go for such things. These are all parallel treatment. They are fine and good for entertainment, nothing else. But still, that's a huge number.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we know that the longer term solutions, Vinay, will take time, perhaps there could be a lesson this time at least of what we're looking at in solving these problems. I mean, one thought that after the first COVID wave, at least there'll be a significant amount that the governments will come out with in central budget and the state budgets, but it went missing.
And I'll give you 2 examples of that. The biggest myth in India is that governments do not have the funds or the resources or the money to carry out projects. That's the biggest myth. You just need to pick up the budgetary estimates and the revised budgetary estimates, and you will see how much of amount remains unspent. And I'll give an example of the state that Girish tracks very closely, which is Maharashtra. On the 9th of February this year, the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra announced that the government has 887 crores of unutilized COVID-19 mitigation fund. This fund was allocated to the state last year to different districts. They couldn't spend it. 897 crores meant precisely for the purpose that we are talking on this show, where the district infrastructure was meant to be upgraded, whether it was oxygen supply, whether it was the PHC buildings, whether it was ambulances, whether it was something as simple and basic as stretchers. But it has remained unspent. And what did we do? 1 year later, we just simply said, oh, but we must now use it. And another plan was announced that this will now be used to upgrade infrastructure. Now we are sitting in April, And we've heard a third plan where the Chief Minister has announced that he's going to build 8 self-sustaining oxygen plants in every district headquarters.
Yeah.
The issue is not resources. The issue is we have very poor, very tardy, and sometimes criminal misadministration of available fund which you can use to build proper infrastructure. And state after state is guilty of that. There is not a state that is spending its money wisely, even though it is available in the exchequer and in the consolidated funds, even for the central government.
Okay, let me see if Dr. Jayalal is back with us. We seem to be having connectivity issues with him. We're going to try and go to him. But Dr. Pathak, let me come back to you. Would you want to add to what Vinay is saying? State-wise, has there been any attempt in addition of infrastructure? First wave ke baad hi, apart from just announcing that we will do this, you know, in terms of getting ambulances or getting additional beds or even ventilators, was anything done outside of maybe Bhopal?
निश्चित तौर पर विनय ने बहुत अच्छा पॉइंट उठाया है। अगर आपको याद हो कि इस वक्त देश सबसे ज्यादा मारामारी हो रही है ऑक्सीजन को लेकर, एम्बुलेंस तो हम बाद में सोचेंगे, और उस ऑक्सीजन को लेकर पीएम केयर फंड से जो बजट जारी किया था, सुधीर जी बता सकते हैं उत्तर प्रदेश की क्या स्थिति है, राज्यों को कितने ऑक्सीजन प्लांट्स लगाने थे। महाराष्ट्र का बिल्कुल ठीक उदाहरण दिया, और बिल्कुल आपने ठीक कहा कि ये आपराधिक लापरवाही है किसी सभ्य समाज में सरकारों के पास जो बजट है, और ऐसे आपदा के समय जो इंसानी जिंदगी के सबसे कठिन वक्त में गुजर रहा है, उसमें बजट होते हुए किसी भी राज्य ने, मध्य प्रदेश में भी ऑक्सीजन प्लांट लगना था, एक भी नहीं लगा। अब होशंगाबाद में एक प्लांट लग रहा है। हमने एक दिन एक डिबेट में उससे संबंधित व्यक्ति ने कहा 2 साल लगेंगे उसे बनने में। एक कोई छोटा सा प्लांट जिसे शुरू करने का दावा किया गया, तो सरकारों के पास बजट थे, एम्बुलेंस से लेकर ऑक्सीजन तक का कोई इंतजाम नहीं किया। कायदे से तो तमाम राज्य सरकारों से लेकर केंद्र सरकार की ये जिम्मेदारी, सुबह विनय ने कहा था वेलफेयर स्टेट की जिम्मेदारी, मैं फिर वही बार ये कहना चाहता हूं कि हमने यथा राजा प्रथा की तथा प्रजा की बात तो डॉक्टर साहब आप सही कह रहे हैं, लेकिन क्या किसी आधुनिक राष्ट्र राज्य में सरकार की ये जिम्मेदारी नहीं है? जिस साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट की बात गिरीश जी कर रहे हैं, क्या हमारी सरकार ने कोविड 1 से लेकर अब तक उसे चोट पहुंचाने का काम नहीं किया? केंद्रीय मंत्री गो कोरोना गो, गोबर और भाभी जी पापड़ की बात करते रहे, तो जो हमारा अशिक्षित समाज है उसमें सरकार की जिम्मेदारी थी ये वैज्ञानिक सोच को विकसित करना, इस तरह के भ्रमों को दूर करना कि गौमूत्र के बड़े बड़े आयोजन गौमूत्र पीने के हो रहे हैं। अभी इंदौर में मध्य प्रदेश की एक मंत्री ने, महिला मंत्री ने, एयरपोर्ट के भीतर तमाम सुरक्षा नियमों को बलाए ताक रखकर अहिल्याबाई की मूर्ति की पूजा की कोरोना भगाने के लिए। ये कैसा अवैज्ञानिक युग है कि जिस समय विज्ञान ही सिर्फ आपकी रक्षा कर सकता है, धर्म आपकी रक्षा नहीं कर पा रहा। धार्मिक स्थानों में ताले लगे, ईश्वर के सारे स्थान काबा से लेकर काशी तक सब में ताले लगे, और तब हमारी सरकारों ने यह गैर जिम्मेदारी निभाई कि देश के रक्षा मंत्री कह रहे हैं कि रामचरितमानस के पाठ से कोविड दूर हो जाएगा। तो ये जो राजा की जिम्मेदारी थी उसने नहीं निभाई, प्रजा तो गुनहगार है ही। तो जिस बजट की बात तन्वी आप पूछ रहे हैं कि मध्य प्रदेश में कुछ हुआ, मेरी जानकारी में एक भी ऐसा काम नहीं हुआ कि जो 2020 के कोविड के प्रकोप के बाद केंद्र सरकार ने जो बजट एलोकेशन मध्य प्रदेश को किया होगा उसमें से एक भी ऑक्सीजन प्लांट नहीं लगा। एम्बुलेंसेस की हालत यह है कि कुछ दिन पहले हमारे साथियों ने इंदौर के एक ठिकाने की खबर दिखाई थी, उसमें बहुत सारी एम्बुलेंस डंप खड़ी थी जिन्हें चालू करके काम पर लगाया जा सकता था, लेकिन इंदौर के कलेक्टर और स्थानीय प्रशासन को होश ही नहीं था कि वहां एम्बुलेंस नहीं है। भोपाल में एक ऑटो रिक्शा चालक ने अपने ऑटो को एम्बुलेंस के रूप में लोगों की मदद के लिए बना दिया, उस पर मुकदमा दर्ज कर दिया वहां स्थानीय प्रशासन ने और पुलिस ने उसे गिरफ्तार कर लिया। तो ऐसे निजाम में जहां न निजाम को चिंता है और जनता में से कोई कुछ करना चाहता है तो उसे रोकने के काम हो रहे हैं। हालात बहुत चिंताजनक है। जी तन्वी।
Yes, Mr. Gupta wants to make a point, but yeah, Vinay, you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to add to what Pathak ji said.
Mr. Gupta, 1 minute.
You know,
yes.
he gave an example of a police case. I remember in Bombay, capital of India's most industrialized state, an auto rickshaw driver took his auto on a railway platform because a passenger had collapsed. And the passengers who were waiting at the station couldn't summon an ambulance. So he drove his auto rickshaw on the platform. He got arrested by the GRP. That man ended up saving that fellow's life. That is the mindset that we have. They were so blinded. उन्होंने
but
गिरफ्तार कर
they
लिया उस ऑटो वाले को क्योंकि वो अपना ऑटो प्लेटफॉर्म पे लेके चला गया था, और ये इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि एम्बुलेंस वहां आई नहीं और लोग फोन करते रहे। उसको रिवॉर्ड करना चाहिए था, हमने उसको सजा देके उसको क्रिमिनल बता दिया।
और एक
it shouldn't come as a surprise.
it shouldn't come.
This is the place where
very
where
but let me
aircraft
this
accident has been registered as a road accident. So everything is possible in our country.
Yes, yes,
A
yes.
plane accident in
No.
Aurangabad has been registered as road accident. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Gupta.
So let me give a mantra, because nowadays lots of things are said about how to deal with, and there are several 3 P's or 4 P's and 5. So let me also give three D's. 3 D's. If we do these 3 D's, I am sure we can handle this COVID crisis much better than what we are doing at the moment. One is depoliticize it. Second, debureaucratize it. And third, decentralize it. If you do all 3 D's, I guarantee you, I vouch for it, things will become much better. वो तिवारी साहब जो ये बता रहे हैं कि funds remain unutilized. I have dealt with these issues quite a lot at every level. Most of the funds are with some strings attached. Ambulances are parked into some place because there are no drivers to drive them.
Yeah.
Because there's no salary of the drivers available. I have seen it myself several times. So ambulances तो खरीद ली हैं, पर ड्राइवर नहीं है तो वो गाड़ियां खड़ी हैं। जब ड्राइवर रिक्रूट होंगे तब तक एम्बुलेंसेस खत्म हो चुकी होंगी, कंडेम हो चुकी होंगी।
नहीं,
That is the
when drivers get recruited, there is no fund for fuel. So this is the cycle which has been taking place.
Yeah, and we had an example where you managed to get ventilators, Dr. Narendra Gupta, and we had 20,000. We have 20,000 ventilators in various parts of the country, but there is no trained staff to use them.
Absolutely.
There was a smaller one city story that emerged where they discovered in the hospital there are ventilators lying, but they had forgotten about it and they had never gotten any training to use those ventilators. In fact, Dr. Jayalal is back with us, so just allow me to go to him because we've had a very patchy network with him. But since he is back with us, Dr. Jayalal, that's also a problem, right? This isolated planning. Equipment ले आए लेकिन training ने you haven't trained the people to use it, then what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely. That the village and the rural area, you should always remember medical work is not an individual work, it is a teamwork. If there is a doctor, he cannot do. Just there is an instrumentation, we cannot do. We need a teamwork to establish that work is being done. Unfortunately, always the focus on medical work, they mentioned about the doctors, but they realize the technical staff and the paramedical people also need to be imparted in the technical stuff in the rural areas. Unfortunately, even after the first wave, we have not learned the health infrastructure is one of the most important thing for any country to progress forward. If you see the GDP of the budget allocation, the health will get only 1.5 to less than 1.5%. But all the Western countries, if the UK and USA, they are spending nearly 16% of the GDP. When we are just spending 1% of our GDP, they will not be able to establish the rural health to the maximum possible level. Now, having gone through this crisis situation, now one thing is very important is saving the life. And we are trying our level best to save the life, whatever the limited structures available. We cannot find excuses at this moment. We need to face this challenge. We are working extra hard time and we are ensuring that we are trying to be able to save as much as people possible. But what is our appeal at this moment is the only option in front of us to avert this crisis is making the immunization schedule, the vaccination reach our people at the earliest time. Unfortunately, Government of India is still sticking on to the differential pricing system. A private hospital, a small clinic, a family physician clinic, if they want to give the vaccination, they need to spend extra amount of money for giving that to the patient. This is quite unfortunate in this country. We are seeing there is a big metropolitan city, it is easily available, but the rural area where there is even the government sector is not available. 70% of the healthcare is being given by the private sector. But in the private sector, for a person of 18 to 45 years, if he has to get the vaccination, he has to pay 600, 1,200 rupees. And that is not possible to be happen in our country. If India could eradicate smallpox, India could eradicate polio, it is because the Government of India had
had made plans enough to incentivize even the manpower, I believe, to get into the plan. Right now, that's also a big thing, the hesitation that people have in it to go to the rural areas and work. I wanted to go back to one point that Dr. Pathak, I think, was making earlier, and in the day also we were talking. Why is it that people believe they will not get it? There is a very, strong thought process in many of the towns and villages where obviously we've done a miserable job of not only scientifically making them aware but actually misleading them in many situations. They do believe that there is no COVID. They do believe that it's some nonsense that is being fed to them. They do believe that these when people medical teams come to test them, that they chase them away. They attack the medical team members in the community and they chase them away such that even testing cannot be done.
That's right. But here is the solution to this lies sometimes within the states themselves. You will notice in every state, and I can almost guarantee you that all our editors who are here, who are experts in different states will bear me out on this. In every state, you will find there are always one or two collectors who seem to buck the trend of what the rest of the state is doing.
Yeah.
And they give examples. I mean, I remember when tsunami hit Tamil Nadu, for instance, the Nagapattinam and Kadalur district collectors did an outstanding job of relief, almost, ensuring that the devastation was limited to a large extent. Now, what is the answer there? These are things, yes, there is a large part of India that believes in certain myths or have, false notions about science or do not understand efficacy and have certain superstitions attached to various things as well, or a suspicion of science. But that is where a sustained outreach program that should be led by the district administration is required.
Yeah.
These things take time. I remember in the pulse polio vaccination program, while a majority of the India got covered, there was a specific part of Western UP where they were just not willing to take those pulse polio vaccines simply because there was a myth that this was a government's way of introducing family planning. Now, this problem was tackled by many techniques. One of the techniques was they started using Bollywood film stars to carry out a campaign which was then broadcast on vans in different villages that was taken door to door. So you had an Amitabh Bachchan, you had other actors who were coming on the screen. Now people, however strange it may sound, they probably had a greater trust on an Amitabh Bachchan than they had on the district magistrate of their own area.
Yeah.
And in the next couple of years or so,
doesn't sound strange at all, just saying.
Yeah, so they were able to solve that problem where there was greater, acceptability of the vaccine as well. This outreach is a continuous process, and there are some collectors who tend to do that. A majority of them just pass tenure. It is also linked to the administrative problems where in states like UP, no collector or no IPS officer of a district can barely finish a year in his tenure. You cannot have a situation where a collector can carry out a policy properly if he or she is not even sure they're going to last the full year. It's all interlinked. Many experts were raising issues about how they buy ambulance vans but there is no driver, and if there is a driver, there is no fuel. It's also because the left hand in the government doesn't talk to the right hand. Why should the education department of a state, technical education department of a state, not be in sync with the health department? You can create hospitals, but there are no doctors.
Yeah.
Because you're not creating the health...
Which has also happened in this country.
Medical education infrastructure
Yes.
to produce better doctors,
Yes.
which is not happening. And you have ad hoc doctors being posted, half of them who turn up to the PHCs and they remain locked.
Yes, yes.
That's where it's a problem of administration overall, and we haven't woken up to that. And I'm afraid this particular crisis that is currently happening is pushing us back into the image of India being a third world country. We came out of that image to some extent where we were treated as a developed country, but we are getting pushed back into that image.
Yes, and Girish, a lot of our conversations otherwise are about what the central government did, what their policy was, or even at the state government level, what they do. Technically, healthcare is a state subject. But actually, there must be some accountability of the district administrations as well. This, this level of planning and getting the work done, the accountability has to come from that level as well.
See, we are in a very strange situation, where state governments are accusing center of being centrally controlling everything. But when it comes to state governments do the same thing. So, though we have a three-tier Panchayat Raj system, almost every city in India is poor because they don't have their own resources. They don't have their own governing powers, and they don't report on their own. They have to have a kind of a complete dependency on the state. So this model has failed. At some point, we have to admit that we have to have a real democratic structure. Currently, which is, it doesn't exist because states See, currently also the issue is the central's handling of the pandemic. We are controlling the situation with Pandemic Act, which came into being in 1897. The reason behind Rand, British officer Rand being assassinated by Chapekar brothers in Pune. So that is the situation. Land Reform Act is the same thing, 1835. So unless we come to this modern system of understanding each other's responsibility and giving them their due right and powers, it's not going to change. This will be another debate for some other thing. But now the issue is everybody is so equally powerless because the whole existence of the government is in controlling power. Central wants to control power, state wants to control power. Whatever power states have, district collectors also wants to control power, and at the end of the day, the common man who is actually finding himself or herself completely powerless.
Completely powerless in many cases also, Dr. Narendra Gupta, caught living in ignorance or unaware of what the reality can be until it actually strikes them. And I was just reading this example from Madhya Pradesh where, one person who had to travel 50 kilometers to get himself tested and treated, but by then it was too late. A day later, his wife, showed symptoms. She also died. And when then the authorities started looking, they realized that it had actually, in that area, there were about 300 cases that people had tested positive. And obviously, in these smaller towns and villages, there is no facility to take care of 300 people. In big cities, in one area, if that happens, it becomes a problem. Yes, Dr. Gupta, you wanted to make a point.
Certainly, it's becoming more and more critical. Kafi gaon mein, in villages also, now you see large number of people are falling sick, whether they are falling sick because of corona or other diseases also are there, and they are not seeking any treatment or even testing, essentially because they are little afraid and scared of this, that if they get tested, they may be removed from their family, taken somewhere. All those kind of apprehensions are there in the minds of the people. That is the reality. The second equally important thing is that the government also doesn't disclose the details about the enormity of the problem. I believe you know that 400 scientists have written to Government of India, to ICMR, to get more data and information. Since last 1 month, I am very keen on to know that the people who are dying, the number of people like 4,000 people died or 3,000 people died, how many of these people, out of how many of these 3,000 people had both the vaccines given to them, how many had one vaccine given to them, and how many have died without vaccine? If I have this kind of a data, this can help me to educate the community with which I work, the people with which I work. I could showcase to them that how Tika has saved these people. People who are dying are those who have not got vaccination. Because why I'm saying so? See, in metropolitan towns, you are seeing people crowding vaccination centers and vaccines are not available. But in villages and in smaller towns, that is not the case.
Yes.
Vaccines are there, but there are not enough number of people coming for vaccination, and that is the reason lots of vaccine is wasted.
Going waste, yes. Vaccine hesitancy. And again, it's the fact that we have made this massive program which we communicate on Twitter, but we don't seem to be telling people on ground in small towns and villages of what it is and why they should take it and why it is helpful. Out of time, sorry Dr. Gupta, I had to come in there, but we are completely out of time. Here is what it is, viewers. So far, in the first wave and the second wave, the focus was so much on the big cities and the larger state numbers and the cases that were coming. But one would have hoped that at least there would have been a little bit of work done in the rural areas. Last time we managed to curb the infection spread. This time we've not even bothered to do that. And now it has reached the interiors of our country. One can only hope that we are able to somehow get together some amount of help. Otherwise, we are staring at a massive disaster in our rural India because of coronavirus. We're just not ready for it, infrastructure-wise, healthcare-wise, at all. There are no two ways about it. Thank you for joining us.